It is like when you went out to play golf and halfway through you remember that you forgot to kiss your wife goodbye. Dear guests, welcome back to the channel. Today, let us talk about one thing that the A350 has that the A320 doesn't. And no, I'm not talking about the brake to vacate function or the auto emergency descent, so stay tuned until the end. Before I tell you what it is, there are a few things that we need to clarify first. Under IASA regulations, IASA acceptable means of compliance says this about MEL handling before takeoff. MEL is minimum equipment list, which is simply a book to say whether you can dispatch the aircraft or not. For example, before you leave the house, you need to bring certain items with you, your keys, money, ID, mobile phone, etc. So before the aircraft can be flown, there are certain mandatory items that is required. If there is a defect on the aircraft, then we have to refer to the MEL to see if the aircraft can be flown legally and most importantly, safely. So this regulation says a thing or two about the MEL. It says that the operator, which means your airline, should include guidance in the MEL on how to deal with failures that happen between the commencement of the flight and the start of the takeoff. So any failure occurs between these two phases, any decision to continue the flight should be subject to pilot judgment and good airmanship. So the PIC, pilot in command, may refer to the MEL before any decision to continue the flight is taken. So the next question is, when does the commencement of the flight starts? According to IASA regulations, it is defined as the moment the aircraft starts to move under its own power for the purpose of takeoff. Just a long way to say when the aircraft starts taxiing. Then you ask, what about FAA regulations? FAA regulations says that operators, your airline, must establish communication means between the PIC and the aircraft dispatch organization and to apply the MEL when a failure occurs before takeoff. So FAA Order 8900.1 Volume 4 Chapter 4 under CDL Configuration Deviation List and MEL says that any failure that happens after an aircraft departs the gate or the ramp area, for example during pushback, taxi or prior to takeoff, the PIC must be able to talk to an aircraft dispatcher or any person authorized to exercise operational control and the maintenance organization to review the issue and carry out any of these actions. Number 1, return for repair. Sometimes a failure can affect the safety of the flight that is caused by weather, aircraft limitations, etc. So very clear cut, just return to the gate and fix the plane. Number 2, return to the gate to accomplish M&O procedure. So even if the defect item can be deferred, you have to go back to the gate and perform certain procedures and get the paperwork done. It is like when you went out to play golf and halfway through you remember that you forgot to kiss your wife goodbye. Well, you know what to do. Number 3, the pilots themselves can perform certain MEL procedures without returning to the gate. Of course, under FAA rule, you must coordinate with your dispatch and maintenance organization. Besides the IASA and FAA regulations I mentioned, if you are following other National Aviation Authorities guidelines, please refer to them because it may be different. Let's take an example. We all learn from examples. So while taxiing, failure happens. While taxiing, you need full attention on the failure. Stop the aircraft. Tell ATC, pilots must perform the ECAM actions first. After that, they should consider a potential system reset and finally check the status page. Also bear in mind if there are any potential OEBs that includes that particular failure. Now let us look at what special feature that the A350 have. The A350 dispatch function gives the pilots and the maintenance information on the technical status of the aircraft that is relevant for the future dispatch of the aircraft. So on the center pedestal of the A350, there is this cube dispatch button. Press it and it shows any defects that the aircraft detects. So how is this different from the A320? In the A320 and some A330s, we have certain failures that requires crew awareness. This will not come out on the A350. Instead, it will come out on the A350 dispatch page so that you can make a better decision for the next flight, thinking about the ground support you have at the airport you are about to land. In this case, you can avoid a potential AOG case. The dispatch function also points out to the pilots directly the MEL item you need to refer. At the same time, this failure will be broadcasted to your maintenance team on the ground so they are also not left behind. This way, you can avoid further delays. So before takeoff and after engine shutdown, an automatic dispatch page update will appear for you to check on the status of the page. Of course, in flight, you can also access this dispatch page by pressing this bad boy. Example, if there are multiple failures that happen, it will be shown on the dispatch page. And for example, on the A320, if engine 2 fire loop happens, there will be an ECAM message for crew awareness. On the A350, an ECAM will not come out. So, it is only shown on the dispatch function page. It also shows the root cause of the failure, making it easier to consult the MEL. So, to sum it all up, the A350 dispatch increases operational efficiency, crew awareness, and also you are able to know the root cause of the issue and consult the relevant MEL. As we discussed earlier on, ECAM information coupled with MEL information and communication with your maintenance organization will help you to make a better decision before you take off. Do also note that your aircraft has to be legal and safe for dispatch when you land at your destination. So even though you can safely take off for this sector, also think about your second sector and so forth.